Hi everyone, welcome back. I found a couple of cool little gems while I was doing some reading yesterday, so I'm like, let me put this together because it was just shedding light on stuff that I was researching, so if anyone's interested, totally understand. If you're not, I don't know why all these pop-ups are coming up, so let's see how far we can get through this. But just a little bit of uh, fun facts today, we'll say, right? Fun facts about America and the origins and why when you go down the road of learning history and law, you'll run into certain groups and you'll understand why they say certain points, like America and Morocco and Africa have a very special connection. And also the Azores, for anybody who has descendants from there, found another fun fact too. So this is going to be really fun. A lot of people already have went down the roads of looking at old maps. You've seen the term, I think, Americoli as well. They call, what is it, also the Moors have names like the Maghreb, Al Morocco, you know. So you see all these terms together, so when you go down the road of trying to see the origin of this name, it kind of makes you think too. And the way, of course, the public has been taught is that, you know, the so-called colonizers, the ones who claim to discover it, they just what? They just came, they knew the stuff was already here. It wasn't anything new, right? But when they came, they tried to claim it and they tried to put probably their name on it, of course. So it shows a lot with jurisdiction too, with these names and whatnot. But it lends a lot of credence to what some of the Moors were teaching also, because when you start to go down your history, you start to reverse engineer back, like, okay, let me go back from Christianity, because in the Christian churches, they don't even teach you your rights, the law, nothing like that, right? It's all about pandering you for money, for donations, but they don't give you anything to, like, free yourself, to be able to give to anyone else, never mind, take care of yourself, never mind the next person. So you're like, whatever. So you start waking up from a lot of deception from there, and then you start listening to, because a lot of the Moors are teaching law. And then you see a lot of our history, we had a lot of Muslim roots and stuff. And then you go back even further, and you go back to the Torah and the Most High's law. That's where you want to go. You know, it's like a sweet spot there, right? Like, you listen to some of what they have to say, but again, still stick with the Most High's law. Because I think they still talk about Islam. So I just listened to, like, the law parts and stuff, but if people don't realize that Europe, the Moors went into Europe, or, however, and, or Europe was part of Africa. I mean, you're going to see they're all on the same plate. They're just politically part of different groups, and that Europe was, full of culture and all of that good stuff, because of a lot of the nations that were there, and a lot of the melanated groups that were there, right? So Americo is also historically a surname, evolved as a way to sort people into groups by occupation, place of origin, clan affiliation, patronage, parentage, adoption, and even physical characteristics, like red hair. Many of the modern surnames in the dictionary can be traced back to Britain and Ireland. I can see that with a lot of, the Black Roman Empire too, because you see a lot of their descendants today. I've seen them, and they'll have, like, the reddish hair, the reddish tint in their hair. So, and you'll see that in Europe and Africa, all these interminglings, and even on my mom's side, she inherited a little bit of that. which I got myself. A little bit of that reddish tint in the brown. So that definitely flourished in that region. So it's a family name, guys. Oh, I keep losing my space. Don't you love when I do that? I love it. I found this map, which I thought was fascinating. Because you see at one point, you know, all the different cataclysms and everything in the Bible, right? And it really lends credence even when you go into these definitions, how a lot of these islands were just seamounts who like came to the surface. So you're like, oh wow, like there was a worldwide flood. Yeah, because in every culture there is a story of that. So, and like one, you know, maybe became, you know, during the times people became wicked, so the Most High, you know, brought the waters to like separate. But at one time, you know, so I can understand now while I'm listening to certain groups why they talk the way they do, because I don't know if you because I used to, you know, just listen to certain groups for the law stuff, not for the spirituality part, because at least they give you that and they give you more of the history. So, and they do have an understanding of the Admiralty law and stuff. So and this one really stuck out, this video. This was from a while back. This is dated October 8th, 2016. Watched just a few years ago, and how they were calling America this and that, and the ancient name. And this is titled, America is Morocco, the Empire. And you think of the oldest treaty, the Moroccan Peace Treaty. You think of when Obama was beaming with pride, and he's like, Morocco was the first country to recognize the United States, remember? They use clips of him saying that, so there is a special type of friendship. And so, you know, maybe because they were one landmass once upon a time as well.
So I'm very, very elated at this opportunity to impart such wisdom on our people worldwide, so we can clear up the misconceptions about the African American making up his own rendition of cultural sciences and practices, because that's a big misconception. People think that African Americans make things up at random because they don't travel.
Morocco comes from the Arabic word, and if you know any Arabs,
Bashar, and he also knows that North America is known as Al-Maghreb Al-Aqsa.
Of course, I know that. North America was known as Al-Maghreb Al-Aqsa.
See, Al-Maghreb Al-Aqsa, is that how he's saying it? I'm going to write that down, guys. And it's just very interesting, not to take away from the Israelites who are the real American Indian. We understand that. Real Aboriginal. But there's layers to this, and I think it's because they were all one. So, and also, too, that America, it's like, okay, well, also it sounds like that Irish and British family name, too. So, you really got to be careful, too, as far as jurisdiction. And just knowing some of these things will help, because there is some good things in that peace treaty also. And, I mean, it speaks to the citizens of the United States. Of course, we want to be state citizens. So, we want to be careful with the language. And I don't want people to fall into, you know, any type of deception, so you always want to vet everything, of course. I'm just showing you a little bit of my research that I was doing apart from this, and this video came to mind today. So I'm like, oh, let me just put it together to like, to try to show people some understanding, like why they're talking like that.
And it reported to the Sultan of Morocco.
The Constitution is their sanction to do business at Morocco. There's that business flag of amity and commerce. Now you understand why you have that Moorish flag, then you have the stars and stripes. It's a banner. It's not the national flag. This is the national flag. It's your history. You're standing on your own land, trying to go to Africa, and you're standing on Africa.
And there was a relation. This is why I needed to ask you, what's the relation between the first colonials and the governors of Morocco, because they communicated, because on paper it was part of Greater Morocco. That's known.
That's known.
How come you ain't getting this in school? Because they don't want you to know that you're standing on Morocco. That the land is Morocco, the occupational government is the United States. Distinguished from the land, it's a foreign religious corporation belonging to the Jesuits. You're under occupation. And you're referred to as the Great Masonic Secret.
So that's very, very, very interesting. And you're like, so I was going into Macaronesia on my own end, and so I'll just show you how it brought me into certain things too. Macro, because of course a lot of our ancestors came from here, so my parents were here, and I don't, people don't respect how far the Azores really is from Portugal. That's quite a journey, guys. That is quite a journey. So when people, like, I'm Portuguese, it's like, be careful. And even Spain, too. Again, very far. And I understand people came this way, or, ancestors were over here. You see Morocco is right here near Algeria, Mauritania is down below, Mali, Western Sahara, Cape Verde, neighbors damn near, Canary Islands in the middle, you got Madeira. I didn't realize Madeira, they get the part here. So this is a very extensive region, and I learned a little bit just from reading this. So Macaronesia is a collection of 4 volcanic archipelagos in the North Atlantic Ocean off the coast of the continents of Africa and Europe. Each archipelago is made up of a number of Atlantic oceanic islands which are formed by seamounts on the ocean floor that have peaks above the ocean surface. Some of the Macaronesian islands belong to Portugal, some belong to Spain, and the rest belong to Cape Verde. Politically, see, this is important, guys, only politically the islands belong to Portugal, and Spain are part of the European Union. But geologically, Macaronesia is part of the African tectonic plates. Some of its islands, the Azores, are situated along the edge of that plate at the point where it abuts the Eurasian and North American plates. So I think it's really funny. So it's at the end of the African tectonic plate, at the point where it, so it was like, they were all part together, right? You can tell all this, all you had to do is just push it, you can see, right? And in one biogeographical system, the Cape Verde archipelago is in the Afrotropical realm, while the other 3 are in the Palearctic. So it's just the different realms, which that would be up on to the north, and the Afrotropical is below. Let's see, really cool. I thought this is funny because you find this in a lot of stories, guys, a lot of so-called Celtic mythology stories. Some of it we went into is treated at a winterless earthly paradise inhabited by the heroes of Greek mythology. See? So it all comes together too, because on my Dia-Dash, I'm uploading this probably on Dia-Dash 2.0 and Alpha 7 Media, because I'm on my stupid timeout on Dia-Dash. And I'll refer people to this channel as well. So I'll be back up next Monday, because they're queer. Yes, YouTube, very queer. And that means bizarre if anybody needs to know English. But Greek words meaning, so Macaronesia comes from the Greek words meaning islands of the fortunate, or the fortunate islands. We've heard that before. So right here it tells you Macaronesia consists of 4 main archipelagos from north to south. These are the Azores, Madeira, the Canary Islands, and Cape Verde. And I find it interesting too, the Azores autonomous region, then Madeira. I was like, what's the Savage Island? So of course we're going to click on it, but we've seen these flags and similar colors too, right? Oh, you got little doggies, I didn't know. And of course Cape Verde. So I keep telling people, like, oh, we must be, like, related, because Cape Verdeans act just like white Portuguese people. Don't tell me they don't. Don't tell me they don't. They're all the same. So the Savage Islands, never heard of that before, in case you haven't either. Also called the Selvagens Islands, also known as the Salvage Islands or Dry Salvages, are a small Portuguese archipelago in the North Atlantic Ocean, 175 miles south of Madeira and 105 miles north of the Canary Islands. The archipelago includes 2 major islands, Selvagem Grande and Selvagem Pequena, each surrounded by a cluster of islets and reefs. And yeah, it's part of the Portuguese municipality of Funchal, which is the largest city and capital of Portugal's autonomous region of Madeira. So pretty interesting. This is a map, how it looks. It's got all these extra islands, guys, see? There's so many land pieces, because you've seen how all the events in history, how, you know, these plates have moved around so much, and you can see how there's probably much more land out there that, of course, we don't know. But if you go here, I thought this was pretty cool. African Tectonic plate. Gives you a pretty nice picture how this could be too, because these plates, you got the Eurasian plate up here and you got the North American plate and the African. I mean, really, I mean, they're all like all underneath each other, right? You got the Alps right here, that would be Italy, you see. So it's a major tectonic plate straddling the equator as well as the prime meridian, and includes much of the continent of Africa as well as oceanic crust, which lies between the continent and various surrounding ocean ridges. Between 60 million, that's what they say. More like, let's go into thousands, who knows, could be like 6,000 for all we know. The Somali plate began rifting from the African plate along the East African Rift. Since the continent of Africa consists of crust from both the African and the Somali plates, some literature refers to the African plate as the Nubian plate to distinguish it from the continent as a whole. So you really get a lot too. And this is the western edge of the African plate is a divergent boundary with the North American plate to the north and the South American plate to the south, which forms the central and southern part of the mid-Atlantic ridge. The African plate is bounded on the northeast by the Arabian plate, the southeast by the Somali plate, the north by the Eurasian plate, the Aegean Sea plate, and Anatolian plate, and on the south by the Antarctic plate. All of these are divergent or spreading boundaries, with the exception of the northern boundary and a short segment near the Azores known as the Terceda Rift. Ooh. So these are all really wild. And the Terceda Rift is technically a geological rift located amidst the Azores Islands. Sometimes they spell Azores with an AC too. You ever see that, guys? I've seen that on the sign of a store. It was spelled ACORES. Thought that was interesting. Islands in the Atlantic. It runs between the Azores Triple Junction to the west and the Azores Gibraltar Transform Fault to the southeast. It separates the Eurasian Plate to the north from the African Plate to the south. Very educational, guys. Very educational. And because it also, America is called the North Gate. I don't know if you ever read this before. I mean, if you just punch in America, North America is Morocco, the North Gate. So sometimes people put on their paperwork, and you can see on some of these maps, I guess if you go back, they do that for jurisdictional purposes too. 1/80th meridian sitting on Russia and Alaska, Asia and America. It says North America is located in the Western Hemisphere as well as the Eastern Hemisphere. North America is also located in the Northern Hemisphere as well. Morocco equals land setting in the sun. Alaska, the great land or moorland or land with the sun. Alaska is Al-Aqsa, the furthest, most extreme. Al-Maghrib, Al-Aqsa equals Morocco, the furthest west, Western Hemisphere. Most furthest west location equals Alaska in Russia, America, and Asia by 180 degree from prime meridian. Al-Maghrib, Al-Aqsa equals Morocco equals Americas equals Al-Maroc equals most west lands. Alaska sits near 180 degree west-east meridian, making the territory of Alaska, North America equals Morocco. See all this? Pretty wild. Making North America, Alaska, Morocco equals the lands of the Greats, or land of the Moor, Westmoreland, or land of the rising one, or land of the rising sun, aka the Great Meridian, east and west. Making North America the great uniter by birthright and just solely the real reason Morocco, North America is the melting pot and hub of the world. It holds land that sits on 180 degree meridian that connects America to Asia. Wow, that's pretty wild. You can see how people migrated here from Asia. Making North America truly the North Gate with the hundreds of mounds and pyramids that line up on certain ley line degrees in the continent, guided by the North Star Polaris. That's a beautiful picture. I can't click on it, but here you go. Can I make it bigger? Let's see. Let's see. So right here, I'll show you. Pretty well. We forget how close that is, huh? Right there. Cool. Let's see. This has been up for a while, but just makes you think more, especially when you look up, the plates. This is pretty cool. I've seen this before. The pyramids in America. There's so many. You got in the west, flat top pyramid mound, centered cultures. So there were many cultures here. From Israelites to Canaanites, you name it, right? And definitely do call it a melting pot. So, I think this is pretty cool. If you guys, all you gotta do is just punch it in. Just gives you an interesting breakdown. North Gate, North America is Morocco. The North Gate, and I guess Canada is part of that as well. And then you got the Moroccan Peace Treaty. Seen that before. A lot of people have said this is the oldest peace treaty, so I guess it does go together. The Moroccan-American Treaty of Peace and Friendship, dated 28 June 1786. In the name of Almighty God, this is a treaty of peace and friendship established between us and the United States of America, which is confirmed and which we have ordered to be written in this book and sealed with our royal seal at our court of Morocco on the 25th day of the blessed month of Shaban in the year 1200. Trusting in God, it will remain permanent. So it's funny how it's dated 1786, but then it's dated in the year 1200. The year 1200. So what year are we really, right? Trusting in God, it will remain permanent. We declare that both parties have agreed that this treaty consists of 25 articles, shall be inserted in this book and delivered to the Honorable Thomas Barclay, the agent of the United States, now at our court, with whose approbation it has been made, and who is duly authorized on their part to treat with us concerning all the matters contained therein. If either of the parties shall be at war with any nation whatever, the other party shall not take a commission from the enemy, nor fight under their colors. If either of the parties shall be at war with any nation whatever, and take a prize belonging to that nation, and there shall be found on board subjects or effects belonging to either of the parties, the subjects shall be set at liberty, and the effects returned to the owners. And if any goods belonging to any nation with whom either of the parties shall be at war shall be loaded on vessels belonging to the other party, they shall pass free and unmolested without any attempt being made to take or detain them. A signal or pass shall be given to all vessels belonging to both parties by which they are to be known when they meet at sea. And if the commander of a ship of war of either party shall have other ships under his convoy, the declaration of the commander shall alone be sufficient to exempt any of them from examination. You got to know a little bit about the law, admiralty versus common law, what's going on up in here, because you can totally understand with their verbiage and how they can call, your personal effects, your property, even cargo. If either of the parties shall be at war and shall meet a vessel, they call us a vessel too, at sea belonging to the other, or your accounts, just think of financial, vessels can mean a lot of things, or our all-cap name, our business name belonging to the other, it is agreed that if an examination is to be made, it shall be done by sending a boat with 2 or 3 men only, and if any gun shall be fired, and any injury done without reason, the offending parties shall make good all damages. And yeah, boat can mean a literal boat. How do we know? They can make an automobile considered one with 2 or 3 cops, it could be that. A lot of time these courthouses and hospitals, they're treated like ships. That way, that's how they bring their law of the sea. A lot of time, if you've seen the architecture inside of them, it's a lot like the inside of a darn ship. And it goes into, if any more shall bring citizens of the United States or their effects to His Majesty, the citizens shall immediately be set at liberty, and the effects restored in like manner. If any more, not a subject of these dominions, shall make prize of any of the citizens of America, or their effects, and bring them into any of the ports of His Majesty, they shall be immediately released, as they will then be considered as under His Majesty's protection. I guess this was the Sultan of Morocco. If any vessel of either party shall put into a port of the other and have occasion for provisions or other supplies, they shall be furnished without any interpretation or molestation. If any vessels of the United States shall meet with a disaster at sea and put into one of our ports to repair, she shall be at liberty to land and reload her cargo without paying any duty whatsoever. If any vessel of the United States shall be cast on shore on any part of our coasts, she shall remain at the disposition of the owners, and no one shall attempt going near her without their approbation, as she is then considered particularly under our protection. See how that's considered a she, like a ship? And they say even with that so-called fiction, it's all ships, so it's a darn she, I think. We're all she's, supposedly. If any vessel of the United States shall be forced to put into our ports by stress of weather or otherwise, she shall not be compelled to land her cargo, but shall remain in tranquility until the commander shall think proper to proceed on his voyage. Well, this is good to read once in a while, because you know what? They do use this verbiage. I like the little lace on the side, it's pretty. They do use a lot of this verbiage in a lot of their documents and a lot of the government forms and stuff. You'll notice a lot of things they talk about. But this is the Moroccan-American Treaty of Peace and Friendship. Apparently the longest treaty. You know, what else did I have open? Because we get that old story about America. And I guess, you know, how it was named. Where did I even get this little tidbit from? Because it came back from... was that when I looked up America? Yeah, I think... Actually... Well, Americo, this is, remember, this is a family name, surname, tracing back to Britain and Ireland, with the reddish hair. But I did have... where'd you go? I did have the etymology, and then it, you know, because this is what the public, this is, you know, how we all learned it in 1507, like what was it before that, right? The Western Hemisphere. So there's different terms that they call for the Western Hemisphere. You know, it probably was all connected ones too, right? All part of these plates. So it was named, you know, because of this introduction. I guess this map maker, Martin Walden Semler's treaty, Cosmographia Introductio, from modern Latin Americanus, after Amerigo, they try to claim. Well, when you think of that family name, that's probably what it is. So it was around this time, right? So what was it before? And we know that the Moors had a presence all over so-called Europe and that area. So, you know, it just makes you think, probably, I mean, I guess, what was it called in that time, right? Before then, because this was the time of Christianity. So you got all these things being renamed because they said they made 2 trips to the old world. Well, some people call this the old world as well. you know? So everything's like backwards and claimed, yeah. These falsifiers were just like Dante's Inferno. I've been telling people we're in a layer of falsifiers, false counselors. Yeah, everybody's claiming this and that. Discovered it when those people already here. Are you freaking kidding me? He published works put forward the idea that it was a new continent, and he was first to call it Novus Mundus, the New World. Amerigo is more easily Latinized than Vespucci or Pussy. Latin Vesputius, which might have yielded place name Vesputia, puta, yeah, for these putos. The sense in English naturally was restricted toward the British colonies than the United States. The man's name Amerigo is Germanic, said to derive from Gothics, so these are the Goths. Amalric maybe? Amal. That looks like a Arabic name. Literally, work ruler. The Old English form of the name has come down as surnames Emmerich, Emery. The Italian feminine form merged into Amelia. They say Appalachia was the first place. Never know. Could have been this too. You know, Appalachia, cultural and geographical region. But that's the eastern, so it's mainly from the mountain, you know. So they give you a whole loop-de-loop. You see how they do us? We just went round in a circle, and it's only referenced to 1600s, written by Spanish explorers. Yeah, what was it? By the indigenous, right? A lot of people have their names. A lot of people call it Turtle Island too, because it broke off and became its own thing. So yeah, even when you go into that Martin's work, goes into his work, and that he was the first European to depict the New World discoveries as a separate continent, which he named America. He was a member of a small group of scholars gathered by Rene II, Duke of Lorraine, in Saint-Dié, near Strasbourg. Their objective was to reconcile and map the geographic information observed by European explorers in the New World. In 1507, the group issued 3 publications, a large wall map, a set of paper segments, gories, for making a small globe, and a short treatise called, you know, that's when they were bringing in the globe, the balls, the Baal worship. But, yeah, it goes into, they made voyages subsequent to Columbus, and that they wanted to hypothesize it was a separate culture. 1507, it's located in the Rare Books Department in the Boston Public Library. If you need your little source, there you go. See how the V, this is a U, pretty cool. I like looking at that stuff. Call me a nerd, don't care. So what else did I have? I think I showed you all there was to see. You got the treaty. You've seen how I got a lot of this stuff, the Macaronesia. I just thought Macaronesia was so fascinating. Did I lose my map? I probably did, guys. That's crazy. My map up, did I not? I hope you guys are having a great day. It's nice and sunny here today. Pretty happy about that. Pretty happy. So yeah, we see this map, and you got, you know, the United States to the left, you got Mexico over here, you got Mauritania. Let's bring that up for you all. Get it all in your face, if it'll even let me. See, because you get maps like this too. That's crazy with the red. Oh, now it got me all loop-de-loop. It's not going to let me fix it, guys. Terrible. We see Morocco here, Spain, Portugal, and then the Azores would have been like right here or over here, right? And so that's really damn close to, you know. So all this, I mean, who's to say what was what, right? So this was connected to here, connected, and you see all these ridges But we have a lot of, stories in the Bible, and also secular stories too, talking about, different cataclysms and different quakes can do that, can break up all the different fault lines, and spread everything out. And they say already today that the map that we have, right, is not even accurate. It's not even an accurate map, guys. But look at this plate, though. I just thought it was pretty wild. North American plate. Boom, boom, boom. So close. Like, really. It's like grasping at straws when people want to be stupid about it. I just thought this was a great connection. And how it shows, too, the Azores African plate. And how I was led to it, too. Just going down the roads of Macaronesia, which I thought it was really wild. And I just, I learned too, like, the distance between Azores. I learned too about the Savage Islands, and that it's considered, politically, it's associated with Portugal and Spain, right? But geologically, it's part of the African tectonic plate. Isn't that pretty cool? I thought that was pretty cool. You cannot think so. But if you have people in this region and you care about history and stuff, yeah. And especially if you watch videos like this and you're like, oh, how they can talk about that stuff, So America is Morocco, the empire. Check that out, just to get some more understanding. And, because we can see how they try to reserve their rights. I do respect anybody who teaches your rights regardless, because I learned the law, certain things, and then, I graduated from that, and you go back to the Torah, of course, because, you see how it went from God's law to some of these groups, and even to, Muhammad, once upon a time they said it was part of Christianity, and he made his own sect. So modern day Christians don't realize that you go back a few generations and millennia, they were practicing Islam. And then Islam got outlawed in the 1500s, and anybody who wasn't subscribing to Christianity was deported, or had a very, very hard existence while they were living there and felt the need to flee. And that's why they came here for refuge. And pretty wild. I think it's really interesting. Give it a check, at least use etymology dictionary if you think I'm crazy, if you think I'm this, use the damn dictionary. I use this, use different references, check out some of this stuff. Did you even, and I just thought this was fascinating too, just how they put too that in the letter it was the year 1200. Then it's dated 1786. Isn't that so interesting? To me it is. Especially since in the book of Daniel, how they would change times and laws. And people don't realize even the Gregorian calendar, the damn calendar you're using today, was given by Pope Gregory. What about the Julian calendar, the Roman calendar, the Hebrew calendar before that? Even the Chinese, they have a whole different calendar, right? So it shows, like, we do so much because of the so-called Inquisition. We don't even realize that. That's why everyone's so out of sync, right? And, yeah, well, is there a wonder? Is there a wonder? But I thought this was really cool. And, yeah, shout out from the North Gate. And I hope you all have a wonderful day, especially doing your work. I have plenty to do. I'm trying to stay in a positive mode. I got a lot of documents I gotta go get notarized. Not feeling too energetic, but I'm just gonna go do what needs to be done. You just gotta put your head down and get the work done, right, guys? So have a wonderful day. Shalom. I'll see you back up on Dia Dash on next Monday. Yeah, I'm being suppressed per usual by the powers that shouldn't be, right? You got a lot of special interest groups on here that obviously don't like a lot of the truth coming out, but that's just too bad because they want to keep this Roman domination going on, right? And what's that doing? You think in these Christian churches, they're like, you know, all about public worship when you're not supposed to do that, right? and then give me your tithe, but you don't get any type of knowledge how to be free, any type of knowledge how to like take care of the situation and learn what happened in history, right? And they have you sitting there for hours and hours for what? If I'm going to spend time sitting hours and hours, I'd rather listen to some of these teachers, at least teaching you some of the law, getting you on the right track, giving you a little fire under your butt to get you to at least enforce some of your rights, because, you know, I appreciate anybody who does that. And there are some people out there that study the Bible who also teach it too. So, you know, you just got to use your own discernment. You don't got, you know, regardless of who you listen to, you can take a little bit of what they're saying. You don't got to run with it, you know. Do your due diligence, vet everything, and that goes without saying. So I appreciate you guys. I hope your day is great, and I'll talk to you soon.